Alright, you know what it is. Another season. Another Master 1 deck list. So this time I was playing Tier. I basically tiered because I wanted to play a good deck, and the Forest cards came out, and I wanted to try those. So I did. So I'm going to talk about the horse cards first, because I don't think any of the rest of the deck is particularly... Like, this is basically kind of how I was playing the deck before, except where we cut some cards for horse cards. I can't even remember what the other cards that I made room for horse cards. I think they were non-engine. But anyways, so let's talk about the horse cards in this deck real quick. I think the horse cards are a little eh. In particular, I think drawing M-Steady is deceptively bad, in particular in a Maxi format, for the singular reason that Maxi just requires some deck slots that I'd want to put an extra payoff, because if you're using M-Steady from hand, you kind of need to be discarding something that you don't mind putting in the grave. Ideally, something like Keldo, Mudor, super ideally Trivikarma. Not ideally enough to play more than one Trivikarma, but super ideally, you're pitching Trivikarma to the M-Steady, so that when they ash you, you don't want to die, you know? To the point where I'd almost want to just play King Sark over M-Steady. I was playing exactly one, because firstly, usually M-Steady would be a pretty early action that you want to take anyways, and secondly, I only pulled one. I actually think there'd be an argument to just play three King Sark, and then just, like, not feel bad when you get ashed on the M-Steady, but, eh. I do think M-Steady would be better if you had more things you wanted engraved, like, what is it, Malicious? Like, if you're playing Malicious and, like, a way to, like, make Beatrice, which I am not a huge fan of in this game because Marley is banned. If you had 3 fusions, being able to make Beatrice just seems a lot more real to me, where you'd be able to, like, do Garura, draw cards, and a card, you know? And then an extra body, just stuff like that. But, here, you kind of have to play the Max C, which means it's kind of hard to justify putting in more, non-engine, because I feel like you could, if I was playing this otherwise, I'd probably cut, if I was playing this in a format without Max C, I'd probably cut the 3 Max C, put in the 3rd Talents, and then put in 2 more engine cards, which would probably be another King Sark, plus, like, another card that wants to be in Graveyard. But I could see doing, like, different things. It depends, obviously. I will say one thing I really like about King Sark is it will, like, force your opponent to maxi before you, like, commit to the Kitkilos line, so that you can do, like, a better search with Kitkilos and just draw them the one card you were going to draw them anyways. Personal opinion. I don't think it's necessarily super amazing, but yeah, the horse cards I don't think are super great in the sense that M-Steady is an ash magnet because you're discarding a card and you have to be discarding a good discard, or else it feels like you just lost the game to ash. Like, it really makes it feel like a rogue deck, depending on the rest of the cards in your hand. I'm playing, like, good extenders, like I'm playing Grief for, in part because of, it just makes a great extender where you'll, like, normal Rhinoheart, get ash, be able to M-Steady, you know, just kind of feels nice. My advice, by the way, is if you're ever like, oh, I really want M-Steady to resolve, so ideally they'll ash Rhinoheart and you normal Rhinoheart. The best line is to send Tearlaments Kashtira off of Kitkilos. Simply do not mill the one of if you're only playing one of this card. This is why a lot of people, I think, play 2. And like I said, I actually think there's an argument to play 3 because it makes it, if you draw this, it makes it so you don't just lose to Ash Blossom how you would otherwise. I think these are These are fun. If King Stark stays on board, it's kind of insane, because you just get 2 free bodies every turn, and without activating monster effects too. Like, I've had it where opponents will like summon Fenrir and stuff, and you just get to go back into like Imseti or whatever, and you just get like a 3k and 24 attack monster. We're playing this because it's a water, and it came up with Grief to do like Rhinoheart plays if you don't have another tier name in hand. It's very specific, but it did come up at more than leaving these bodies on the board. Like, these are always going to make something. But yeah, I think the horse cards were fun. It feels way too weak when like Imseti gets negated, in a way that I think other cards don't. So even your opponent like having an Ash or whatever just makes me suspect. I can't believe this is like the best card to be here, but I think it's a really fun card to be here. The Horus cards. This card is also just like, if you're thinking, oh, I want to play more names so I can like do more King Stark stuff, I would not recommend that, just because Imseti is like the only one that's good to draw. Like, you could choose to do that, do more high roll. If you're going to play more names, I would suggest playing 6 King Stark, 6 Imseti, just to try to make sure you don't lack the capacity to actually, you know, play them. Because they're completely dead draws. Yeah, let's talk through the basic decks list. We're playing Maxi because this is the only hand trap that is worth playing. You want to be playing mostly engine or like really strong cards, and I don't think any of the other hand traps really count as strong cards. Obviously we're playing Havness. I'm playing Snow. This is one of the cards you're trying to mill. You want it in Graveyard. You can do a couple different things with it. She's a quick effect Book of Moon. She can help dodge freaking Called by the Grave. Blah, blah, blah. Snow's a really nice card. Sheeran is fantastic. Love Sheeran. I hope Sheeran goes back to 3 at some point. I think that'd be fun. Like being able to pitch another card from hand to mill 3, it's great. Level 4 is a great level for being able to do your only synchro play I have set up in this deck. Just pretty happy about Sheeran. Rhinoheart. You know, that's tier combo by himself. Kaldo Mudora, because we want to floodgate our opponent's graveyard. I don't think these cards should have been printed, but at least they're not at 3 anymore. Smile. Okay. Destrudo, this is here exactly for Barone line. You can play, what's the 7? I mean, you can play more than just that, obviously. But, where is it? Synchro 7. This guy. Shooting Riser Dragon. And you can use it to send Snow or Keldo or Mudora to set up for your opponent's turn. But I like Barone's good. But I could see putting in Shooting Riser for a second synchro play. Fenrir's just a good card in its own, and it searches tier cache for free. Sometimes I'll Fenrir search tier cache and then use the tier cache in hand as diffusion with the Havness, and then immediately send it with Kitkalos, and it's just a way to like get a free card essentially. Or sometimes it becomes like a discard. Like you'll search it with Fenrir, pitch it with King Stark, which feels really good by the way. Or you'll search it with Kitkalos, send it with King Stark, and then summon it from grave. It depends. It depends on the hand and what you need. We already talked about the horse cards a little bit. Like I said, Imseti's a good one. Pitches cards you don't want in your hand and that you do want in your graveyard. Like I said, I think you'd want more cards that you want in the graveyard for Imseti, because otherwise it getting ashed or baroned or whatever, negate or called by the grave, it just feels way too bad. Playing Dumatef because I think it's better than Happy, because you aren't leaving these bodies on field, and as such, the water attribute has been more relevant, by which I mean relevant at all, as opposed to the on-field effect of Happy. On-field effective, like I was never leaving these guys on field. Rhoda, this is just another copy of Rhinoheart. Foolish Burial Goods, this is Perlino 90% of the time, because you're using it to send exactly Trivikarma. Perlino's a bad mill, but like a really insane card to have on the field, which is why it's usually exactly Perlino. I'm running 2 triple tack. I think it's a really good board breaker that helps you like break your opponent's board or extend or whatever you need it to do. Hand Rip, if you can play through a hand trap they played. Just very powerful card. And I think you need non-engine to help push through opponents' boards, because this isn't like tier 0 tier cash, but also tier cash, tier 0 Tearlaments. Even so, I'd probably be playing it even then, because I was during tier 0 Tearlaments, because it helped break boards and it helped go first too. This is just a really good card. Tearlaments Grief, I'm on Grief instead of more normal summons, because I don't think Seamare is worth it. Seems like a weird phrase to use, but I just don't like it taking up the normal. Grief has an effect in the grave. I'm just not impressed by Seamare. It's an Aqua Engrave, which can help with like not going minus. Like you have to mill pretty specific cards to not need to use like a Rhinoheart on field. If you're using him to do the Kikalos line, but I honestly just don't think it's a big. I just don't think it's a big deal. I think it's fine. Like it's actually just whatever. And that's not an issue. I just think this card is less good than a card that you want to put into a Tearlaments deck in particular. This can be nice to mill. Sometimes you'll basically use Tier Cash in order to... I've used Tier Cash to like banish one of the traps that I milled earlier so that Grief is live and Grief can get it back. That can be relevant. Perlino, this just searches Rhinoheart usually, but sometimes it'll start Sheeran if you already have Rhinoheart, something like that. Raidsoth is almost certainly super cuttable, by the way. But this searches Fenrir. That's it. This searches Fenrir. 3 Scream searches your traps, mills 3 cards. Great. Gold, King Sarcophagus we talked about a little bit already. Super Poly I like. It can be both a way to like dodge and permon Kikalos, and also a way to break opponents' boards that are otherwise really unbeatable. Heartbeat gets you back a trap and offers a little bit of spell trap disruption. Meta Noise is Book of Moon plus a fusion, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Crime is fine. It makes your like it makes some specific hands like extra insane, because like you'll go first and you'll be able to set up a crime and then like pitch snow and negate an opponent's card, and that kind of stuff is pretty invaluable. Soliek is very, very good. I like Soliek a lot. I love setting up Soliek plus Kaleido Heart, because then you just you get to negate one, send one, and then like do a fusion play, and you get to shuffle a card back too. And like these two, Soliek and Kaleido Heart together are just like an insanely powerful resource loop. I'll talk about the extra deck just a little bit. Muddragon of the Swamp and Garura are both very powerful cards. For Super Poly in particular, sometimes you will make Muddragon off of one of your tier cards just because you really want targeting protection. So if you know your opponent has like a targeting like imperm, or they have like the rescue ace cards, and you can like go Mud Dragon, and then from Mud Dragon you can normal summon Rhino Heart, activate the effect after that's, and then when he activates that, activate Mud Dragon to change to Dark so that you can protect Kit Kalos from targeting on the next chain. Just can be, Mud Dragon can be insanely powerful for that kind of thing. Kit Kalos, obviously. Garura is another super poly target, pretty much. It can hypothetically, I guess, come up in some other scenarios, but this was always just a super poly one for me. Dragostapelia is a great way to recycle Garura or Mud Dragon, and can sometimes come up if you need targeted negation, or if changing the level of your opponent's monsters is relevant. Rukulos is kind of the default end board piece if you happen to mill Sheeran off of the Kit Kalos tier cash play. Kaleido Heart is a great card to make on your opponent's turn to shuffle a card back, and is amazing if you have Soliac established in order to keep shuffling back and also go into like Kit Kalos and then go into Rukulos or like Dragostapelia, depending on what's happening on the board. Really love Kaleido Heart. Baron de Flor is our Destrudo play. You basically do Rhino Heart, make Kit Kalos, send tier cash, and then summon back tier cash. And then if you have another level 4 / you didn't need to use the Rhino on board, you can do Destrudo target Rhino, and then you have a level 3 tuner and the level 7, and then you can just make Barone from there. Redoer lets you take 2 4s. If one of those 4s is Sheeran, you can detach Sheeran, activate Sheeran's effect to fuse in the graveyard, because this detaches as an effect. Very good, very powerful. I ended up putting in Dugaris, and I think I used it once. This gets you in a position where you have 2 4s, but you maybe used Sheeran's effect already, or something along those lines. And Dugaris like can turn that from being somewhere you had nothing to do and like unbrick you, or discard a card you need in graveyard like Terrific Karma. I think it just came up like one time. Zombie Vampire. This is what the primary goal of Kingstark cards are to do. Is your goal is to summon one Imseti, one Dumatef, activate this effect, mill 4 from your opponents into yourself. I've had it where I've summoned my opponent's monster here and used their hand trap in order to make Barone with my tier cash, which I think is very funny. You can summon back Rhino Heart, you can trigger your tier cards, you just have a bunch of cards that are good to mill, and Zombie Vampire will hit those. I found Zeus to come up a couple of games where you do a Redoer or Zombie Vampire and then make Zeus to wipe the board. Hypothetically, I come up with the triple attack. I did have that actually come up one game where my opponent was playing Kashtira, and I triple attack stole their Arise Heart. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Where I stole their Arise Heart and then made Zeus. Pretty relevant. I'm playing IP because sometimes you end up with like an extra Imseti or something, or when you do the Zombie Vampire, maybe the card you stole doesn't really do anything, but you can transform that into an IP, which means because you didn't lose any bodies from that, because you'll have milled 4 from both decks, and you are going to hit 1 monster. I mean, hypothetically, you could be really sad and hit 0 monsters, but that transfers into an IP really smoothly, because this is just 2 non-link monsters. Dark is here to help with, like, climbing into, like, Unicorn. IP's here. SP is here for the best IP target to go into. And I don't know if I already mentioned it, but Strudo has a second target if you just want to turn any monster on the field into like a snow and graveyard. You can do Shooting Riser. I did not find that very convincing, which is why I'm not playing it. I don't think you need another Synchro. I don't think another Synchro is comparable to Baron. Destrudo just being a free body is fine in and of itself. I think IP cleans up a lot of like awkward body problems for this deck, where if you have like a couple of cards you don't know what to do with, you can just make IP with them, and then you have an SP or a Unicorn play on the next turn. This card is insane, by the way. So yeah, that was a deck. Did well. Got me up to the top. It beats... I felt like I had a good chance to beat things. Even going up against fire decks. I don't... oh, if we're curious, we're not playing anything to beat Maxi because Kiklos Pass is fine. Not fine in the way that it used to be fine, but like, I was pretty happy with just making a Kiklos, drawing my opponent exactly one card and passing. But yeah. I like the deck, I have fun. This is probably my favorite deck that's, like, actually any good. I probably wouldn't recommend the Horus cards, really. But, you know. I actually don't even know if, like, Fenrir is correct. I think Wraithsoth is really questionable, to be honest. It was never bad, except, like, this one's pretty bad with, like, Maxi, because this, you'll search the Fenrir, then they Maxi, and then, you, like, if you have, like, Fenrir Rhino, you now have to draw them 2 cards, but also, like, summoning Fenrir is just so good. It's kind of hard to not do that. But that can be a little awkward, especially if you have to, like, super poly immediately, and you drew Fenrir, and then it's like, oh, I guess Fenrir is just gonna be dead in hand now. But, I mean, those are, it's pretty specific when it clashes. I just think there are other really good cards. Like, this could just be another triple attack, for example. Like, this is, low-key non-engine. I did have a game where I lost because it was, my opponent drew, like, Maxi evenly matched, and so I just summoned Fenrir, and I drawn a super poly, and then they evenly'd me, and then I kept the Fenrir because I figured the body was more worth it, and then they were on cash, so they stole my Fenrir, and that was a sad game. Anyways, sometimes your opponent just has a really good hand, and you make a bad guess of what was most efficient to do, or I need to keep super poly, because if they stole my Fenrir, they were gonna get to do full cash combo, but c'est la vie. The most cuttable card I found from this extra deck was Dugaris, by the way, so if you wanted to put in, like, access code, or, shooting Riser Dragon? I can't remember what this... Yeah, shooting Riser Dragon. That's probably the first cut I would make. Zeus is probably kind of cuttable. Dark I could see being cut. There are a bunch of cards that are, like, kind of optional. But I like this extra deck. I very rarely found it to be bad. Yeah, I don't know. Tear's fun. Mill, gamble, win. Alright. I'm gonna shut up now. Later.